Hi there, and welcome back to Snacks and Stacks. And this will be my December reading wrap-up, which, if you've been following my December reading challenge where I finish a book a day, you probably know everything I've been reading, and you can totally skip this video. But I will be talking about two books that I did not talk about in those videos, so I will have them in the timeline down below. Quick stats for you if you haven't been following my reading vlogs. I challenged myself to finish a book a day. Sometimes it'll be the novel that I've been reading throughout the week. Sometimes it was a manga from beginning to end. And so I read 26 volumes of manga. I rated all of them between 4 to 5 stars. The mangas I read were Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, Firefly Wedding, Witch Hat Atelier, and mostly Full Metal Alchemist, and 1 volume of Yona of the Dawn. In December, I also read 8 novels. I gave 1 5-star, 3 4-stars, and 4 3.5 stars. And as usual, my wrap-up is just going to be about my 4 and 5-star reads, and especially because I do talk about all the other books in my reading challenge, I will leave timestamps and links for the other books in the description below. One of the books that I gave 4 stars to is actually a Netgalley arc, so thank you so much to Netgalley for providing me with this advanced reader's copy so that I can read Miss Mabel Goes Back to the Chopping Block by Jessie Q. Sutano. This is about Mabel, who is a grandma at this point. She's an older, rich Asian woman who lives in Indonesia, and she has just found out that her husband wants a divorce to start a new life with their cook. And in an attempt to save her lifestyle and her husband, she signs up for a culinary school in Paris. However, when she shows up, it ended up being that she actually signed up for classes in this small town in England, and so she gets transferred there and starts learning how to cook and realizes that it's a lot harder than it looks. This is a book that is kind of like a coming of age for an older protagonist. She has a lot of thought processes that I can find a little bit annoying, but it's because I didn't grow up rich, so I don't know if that's normal. And yeah, I found the story to be quite delightful, very easy to read. I really like Jessie Q. Sutano's writing style. I've read a couple of her books before. However, and this might not be her per se, it's definitely with the publishing company, but whoever wrote the blurb for the book, there's something in the blurb that happens like 2/3, almost 3/4 of the way in, and it changes the type of book that you think you're picking up. Because of that in the blurb, the whole time I thought I was waiting for the shoe to drop so that this would be a mystery kind of book, like a cozy mystery, especially because this is also the author that writes the Vera Wong series. However, the mystery element, the mystery doesn't start until much later. So the whole time I'm like waiting for the mystery to happen, and it's not really happening, right? So that is something I just want to point out. I do think this book is highly enjoyable, and it is coming out. Oh no, I didn't write it down. I don't have it in my notes, so I'll put it up here when I'm editing the video. This is the date when this book will be coming out, and I do think it's worth it, especially if you love Vera Wong. So the next 2 4-star books are actually in my reading challenge video, but it's been a while, so I don't remember quite what I said about them. So I'll give a quick summary, and I will also give you a quick thought about them. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is a book I finished on the 1st of December, so it's been a while since I've read it. But basically, it's a book that spans 3 different lives in 3 different time periods. And we follow 3 women who go on their vampiric journey for freedom and to satiate their hunger. It is a book that is beautifully written. I think this book has feminine and lesbian rage. Let's just say that. It's definitely comes from a place where like you feel that oppression of people and just like the amount of anger towards it, but also the amount of like wonderfulness it is and power that you can feel when you can grasp it. So I did write up something, but I wanted to just be like for real with you. This book it's more than what is on the page, which is what is enjoyable and what makes it like a 4-star read. I loved the beginning and I loved exploring the character Maria and her backstory and how she became the way she became. But then it got to a point where it was like kind of stagnant and it felt a little bit slow in some parts, and it felt a little like not repetitive, but I was like, it almost felt like it got to a point where it just stopped. And even though I liked all 3 characters, well, liked is a stretch. I felt for Alice because what was done to her wasn't quite like her choice. And so I liked what happened at the end for her, but the ending felt really rushed. And anyways, if you've read this book, I would love to know your thoughts because I think V.E. Schwab is a great writer, but there was just something in it that didn't make it 5 stars. And I can't talk about why it's not 5 stars in detail without spoiling the book. But yeah. So there was just some pacing issues near the end. And so that's that one. And then I lent this out to my friends, so we'll put a picture up here. But another 4-star book was Heat of the Everflame by Penn. This is the 3rd book in the Kindred's Curse series. And book 2 is still my favorite because book 3, we are following our main characters and we're expanding the world. And if you know nothing about this series, it's really a series about class struggles, mortals versus these demigod figures. And it's got a romance to it, but it really doesn't start being a thing until the 3rd book. And so, yes, in this 3rd book, there is some spice, but I wasn't bothered by it and by the pacing of the romance. I actually really liked the romance pacing. What I did not like was there was this part in the middle where I was like very, very frustrated with the pacing. It just felt kind of slow. It felt a little bit like move on. And also I forgave it later, but at the time I was reading it, I was like, man, DM is so dumb. There's something that is so obvious to me that she is not picking up, and it is driving me absolutely insane up the wall. All these issues could be solved if somebody just brightened up a little bit. And then there was a line in there where she was basically admitting to the fact that she's not like a logical person and that like she's not good at connecting the dots. And I was like, well, it's self-aware, so I will allow this. And so that is my thoughts on the Heat of the Everflame. I am absolutely seated for the 4th book. I really, really hope it comes out soon. I want to read it so badly. I've already read the free chapters that she offers, and it's not enough. And I will say Penn has a way of ending her books that makes you want to pick up the next one so bad. And it's not in like a bad cliffhanger way where you're like, wow, I can't believe you just did that. Like the 1st book, I was like, whoa, that's cool. Let me pick up the 2nd book. And then the 2nd book, I was like, gotta pick up the 3rd book. I mean, it's like, what's gonna happen? And then this one, it's kind of a nice ending for me because I feel a certain way about the way it ended. I can't tell you, but I don't feel as stressed out as like some other people might. But I still really, really, really want Burn of the Everflame to come out. That is the only thing I really want from 2026 is for Burn of the Everflame to come out. So please, can somebody please get Penn to tell us the date when Burn of the Everflame will come out. Thank you. And the last book that I read, I almost did not leave December with a 5-star novel until I picked up The Enchanted Greenhouse. That is backwards. And this is by Beth Durst. She is the author of the Queen Zarenthia series, as well as The Spell Shop, which is sort of like a prequel to this. However, it's kind of happening around the same time. And you don't need to read The Spell Shop to read The Enchanted Greenhouse, but there are characters in The Spell Shop and in this that is talked about. And it's Kaz. Kaz, our talking spider plant, our sentient spider plant. The maker, the creator of Kaz, is actually the main character of this book, and her name is Turlu. Turlu was a librarian who was turned into a wooden statue after being convicted for illegal spell casting, and suddenly she has desaturified, and she is on a mysterious island and unsure of how long it's been, where she is, and why she has come back to life. She finds these spectacular greenhouses, and they're all enchanted with some sort of magic, and the gardener there seems to think that she is a sorcerer who was sent to help him repair some of the broken, decaying greenhouses. I think the thing with cozy fantasy is that some books are going to heal some people and some are not. Cozy fantasy books are just such like a singular experience, what they are going through. It's like this with all books, but when people pick up a book and it's cozy fantasy and they're like, oh, this is so cozy and it healed something inside me, I'm always like a little bit like, oh, you're exaggerating. This book healed something inside of me. So I'm actually not like Turlu. I was, talking about something on Discord and said, well, I just relate to Turlu. And it's like, I don't relate to Turlu because I don't need a lot of people around me all the time. Like Turlu decided to make Kaz because she felt lonely. And so she created a sentient plant friend. And at first I was like, well, I'm not like bad with being alone. But I think this loneliness that she feels is something that I can relate to a lot. And I found this story about second chances and reinventing yourself in a new place to be just so heartwarming and so beautiful. And the way that she grew and was able to trust herself and believe in her abilities is something that I long for. I'm looking for that kind of journey myself. I think that there are definitely flaws in this book, like the amount of times Yarrow makes honey bread. I'm like, come on, we know you make lots of other stuff too. But I love the food imagery in this book. I love the imagery of the whimsical greenhouses, all the different kinds that are there. The magic is so creative. It's so imaginative. There is a whole greenhouse where you can swim with sea turtles. If you don't know that I love sea turtles, now you do. And the romance was so cute and lovely, and even things that I think would bug some people, like the fact that he grunts a lot and doesn't really talk, it becomes kind of like a running joke, which I think is very self-aware and very just like, we know it, but it works. And I think there is also a really interesting tone in this, in the background of I'm just going to call it abuse between the sorcerer and some of the other side characters in his plot line. It kind of talks about so these magical greenhouses were created by the sorcerer, and he has passed away. And the reasoning for him to create these and just his thought process of what love is versus what control and possession is such a good conversation that is being had in this book, but it's not beat to death, I don't think. And I think it's done with such nuance and such care that I just found it to be done so well. And that is something that I think my generation, the millennial generation, is dealing with as we become parents and we become older. You know, like, I love my parents, but was their love the unconditional kind of love? Or was it like a self-inserting kind of love? Was it a possessive, controlling love? And I think we all know all the facets of these types of different loves, because our parents are human beings and they're growing and they're learning as we are too. And so there's just something about that in this book that I think was done so well. Yeah, I think I've been holding this book upside down this whole time. Hello. But yes, so The Enchanted Greenhouse gets 5 stars from me. It is such a delightful book. I liked it more than The Spell Shop. I remember having issues with the pacing in The Spell Shop and how everything felt like it was tied up in a bow. And in The Enchanted Greenhouse, yes, she solves, like, the main problem gets solved, but there's other things happening. There's like a life outside of the story. It keeps continuing. The people are not perfect, and I think that's what I absolutely love about The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. Honestly, I'm so glad I finished 2025 with this 5-star book. So that is my December wrap up. Thank you so much for subscribing, commenting, liking, and I can't wait to keep doing this. It's been so much fun. I have a lot of plans this year for this channel, so I hope it goes well. Happy reading, happy snacking, and I'll see you guys next time.